Hello. So, uh, today I'm going to try to write two web frameworks. Uh, I'm I'm not sure about how much time do I have, so it could be one framework, could be two. Watch until the end to find out, right? We're going to start with this. Um, Even you said, "Hey, I'm sure there's a way to add Bling to Vue," and I Daniel is supposed to stream tomorrow, trying to do this. I guess in Next, but I'm not sure. My my best guess is there is a create with extra package, and it has a vue SSR. So I'm I if I was him, I would have started with this one. But I'm going to be using QGP, which is my own kind of like meta framework on top of Astro, and we are going to. Uh, I already have this, like a template for React and Solid, and I need to work on Vue and Svelte. So that's going to be like my way into doing this. So let's check if the YouTube thing is working. Okay, it is. So now let's go. So first is we will probably start with QGP. Um, so let's go to GitHub. Let's create. I mean, it will create a folder. So I think it should be like yarn create QGP. I'm always confused how those things work. Okay, so we're going to call it QGP vue bling, and we're going to use. Okay, so we have solid, React, React, and demo. So I'm guessing we're starting with solid because that's the that's the one that I did last. Um, so let's hit the thing. Uh, this is almost going to be like a tutorial. I feel like so. I should probably I should probably narrate it as such. Uh, so at this moment, we're installing like Astro and Solid. We're going to remove Solid and replace it with Vue, but that's how we're going to start. Uh, so it's pretty simple. Yarn dev, or whatever package manager you like. I haven't looked yet into into PNPM and stuff. To Okay, I have like a process running somewhere. It was using the ports. Okay, so okay, didn't start Astro. Okay, now okay, we are at Vite plus solid. Um, so let's look at what it does. So we have a index page that opens our SPA, and our SPA opens client only our application. We need to do SSR. So I wonder if I should have used a different template. So let's just see what kind of templates we have. So it's didn't we use that one? Why is it? Okay. Oh yeah, it does do SSR. Okay. Um, I confused myself. So uh, we're going to go back to this one for view, and we'll just see how it goes. Uh, but in terms of this one, so we have this count component. We're getting it from our app. We do have a router, and this router has some routes, and one of the routes is like a counter. So I'm not sure how much of that structure we're going to keep, but just in terms of like what's happening right now is this is closest thing to kind of like the SSR plugin. It uh, it will do very kind of like limited amount of magic that is related to Astro. It will like add um, this well, I don't know, like a script, and it will create a custom component that is like responsible for lazy loading your app. This is the same architecture that we're using at Fogbender, except that we are using React instead of Vue, right? Or Vue. Okay, so let's start at the start. So let's look at the Vue Vue SSR template. Okay, am I going to mess this up all the time? Okay, so here's the app. It doesn't have a router, it just has a hello world component. Okay. Um, uh, do I need a router? I'm going with no, just because it's going to be faster to do that. And I'm going to just kind of like copy paste this stuff. I'm presuming this is like really close to how the regular V templates are working. Uh, so first thing is we need to go into Astro config, and there we need to replace solid uh, with view. Okay, so let me remove solid. So now we are going to do Astro add view. That should install view and allow us to use it in Astro. Okay, I'm not a fan of like this format, but okay. So I like this one more, and I like this one. But other than that, should be fine. We need to remove solid from here. Is it remove or delete? I always forget. Okay, and this one. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so right. So now the other thing is like here, we're using Vue plugin solid, and we need to figure out what is used here. It's Vue.js. Okay, I think. Let's look at the config. Yeah, so this, I don't know why TS check is needed. Okay, So should be something like that. So far so good. So now presumably everything is like not working anymore. And so QGP solid TSX. Okay. So here is where we are going to look into like what is index importing. It's importing entry client. So where's our entry client? And this is going to be like our this is going to be this file. So we go to app mount app. Okay. So in our case, that's going to be this is not TypeScript. Why is it not complaining? Interesting. Okay. So the solid fellow, we need to rename it to view. Sure. And so it's not going to be app, it's going to be create app. And it's going to be this. Okay. I don't know if it needs that first load. Okay, we have someone in chat. Letting Miguel, dude, are you for real? Okay. I guess I am for real. Why wouldn't I be for real, right? What stops me from being for real? Okay, so it's no longer TSX, it's just TS. And this is am I for real? That's a good question. Okay, so create app. Okay, it says create SSR app. I hope that means something good, but we'll see. So the other one was like that. So SSR requires fresh app instance per request to export a function that creates a fresh instance. Okay. I'm sure that makes some sense for people who are coming from this thing. Okay, so context, render to string. Yeah, all of that stuff is going to be handled by Astro. Uh, uh, so now we go to our app TSX. We just, I guess, remove it and do something like, I guess it's a template. It has a def, right? So we can remove this. We can rename it to app view now. And hopefully that should be enough. So we started localhost 5173. Okay, something is happening. Could not import something. Solid. Not sure who's looking for solid though. Okay, this thing is looking for solid. Right, so and interesting. It works a bit differently in Vue. It looks like we just need to import app view directly. Okay, so view logo and something here. Okay, so now let's figure it out. Do we have anything left from solid.js yet? Okay, we have this one. Yeah, it's all that stuff is not going to work. So we have tsconfig as well. So let's check on the tsconfig for Vue, JSX, reserve, source. Only has one. Okay, interesting. So I think that's all that we need to do. So now go back here, not resolve file. Okay. Why can't you resolve the file? Oh, interesting. I don't know if we need that, but it almost feels like we do. No, it still doesn't work. Cannot file. Interesting. Okay, this is. I'm not going to fix TypeScript errors, but this seems like a thing that should work. Okay, so this doesn't work. If we add view here, it does work. Okay, so let's say let's say that this should work. What else? Um, so let's first figure out the hello world stuff. So we need to create a folder called components. We already have something here. Oops. it's like a file that I forgot to remove. So this one is going to be hello world.view. And if we go back here, it doesn't work. If you go back here, it doesn't work. Okay. Why? Why though? Okay. See if I named it wrong. Okay. Maybe I did name it wrong. Copy it again. Okay, so it works here and kind of works here. So we're missing some of the styles. So let's figure that out. So we have assets, and instead of solid, yes, we can do this, just this, and just rename it to view. So, okay, that's better. Now, let's figure out the CSS. So we have style CSS, and it's imported in app. No, imported in entry. That seems silly. Don't you send CSS to server then? Okay, so we did this. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. So if you want to fix you, we wanted to vite. I mean vite. So yeah, let's just try to do that. So styles dot css, and what CSS files do we have right now? So it's index.css. Actually, the same thing. Maybe we can keep it index.css. Do we have any? Yeah, we have app CSS. Yes, we don't have that one because we use we use CSS right in the file. So do we import? No. Okay. So let's do this. So okay. So it looks better, but not completely fixed. so this is just an icon. There is no CSS there. Do we have anything in index.html? I think we had some issue before with that. So okay, so let's do this for feed as well. No, that was for feed. Okay, now let's do index.html. So here we have div named app. Okay, maybe that's what was the problem. Okay, so this one looks fine. Now we just need to do this one here. Okay, still not perfect. I think that's because we need to have div id app. Okay. Huh. Can I do ID on this one? Okay, interesting. So this is ID root. Does that one have ID? I just never tried to do this. Didn't think it does. Okay. So it's clearly just an issue in the layout. Okay. Okay. So we fixed it. It works. We have one TypeScript error. Cannot find module. Yeah, I have no idea what that means. Because it's not going to work without Vue. We already did stuff here. Not entirely sure how that works. We're probably not doing anything to beat end. Okay, so we have some beat end file. Oh yeah, okay, that's cool. So end. So that's our struct line. So I wonder if that's enough. Okay, it is. Oh, cool. So we did we did framework in 30 minutes. I'm joking. That's not the whole framework, but it can't be happy about that, right? So this maybe don't. I don't even need to glue. I don't know if that how that works for Vue, but okay. So convert solid to Vue 3, I guess. Okay, so it works. We have like either.js, we have like HMR and stuff. I can have a counter and I can edit the file and counter stays the same. It's not going to work like that in Astro. Oh, will it? Huh. Does Vue does like extra layer of HMR? This is okay. I want it to be half. This one half. Interesting. Yeah, because they're refs, they probably are. Yeah, they're probably like stored somewhere. So it's like look more. Maybe it's more like a global store, so it's not affected the same way. That's interesting. I guess you don't need QGP as much in Astro. I didn't know that. So have like an input. Okay, not sure what's happening here. We model. Okay, need to remove. So if I have something here and I HMR, wow, that's really cool. You don't expect me to be saying good things about you, right? Um, okay, so what are we doing? We want to play with Bling, and I did this stunt of uh, adding QGP to jQuery. So if it works in jQuery, it would be silly if it didn't work in Vue, right? Okay, so we need to install Bling. We need to add uh, a plugin. And I think that's it. Yeah. And then we need to create like a special page for Bling requests to work. So that's what we did here. Okay. So let's see. So we added Bling. We added it here. We need to save this file. Okay. So now what's next? So we need to change output to server. And we need to thing for that. So maybe we should start with that. Not a huge fan of like updating Astro every time you run ad. I guess can't really complain. Okay, so this one, yeah, I don't know how any of that works. Okay, it doesn't add config each time, so that's already a win. So let's add Marcel. And Guess this one. I don't know if Vercel also probably does. Okay. Okay, so yarn remove. A yarn lock is going to be like out of sync if I don't do this. Okay, so let's check if it builds. Right, it doesn't anymore. Okay, we can build it. Can we preview it? No. Does not support preview command. Okay, that's pretty bad. That's not my problem. Okay, so let's go back to our jQuery stuff. So we did output server. We installed stuff, and we did this, and we added this. Okay. Okay. Okay, should be fine. So we added Blink stuff, reversal output. Okay, I guess we need to Vercel output git ignore. Vercel ignore. Okay, this is not it. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing, so let's just say it's not using test. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. That was for this one probably. Okay, so where are we at? We are 50% there in writing for our first framework. So, so the idea here is that we can discount, for example, the world. Is that hello world? Okay, so on click to this. Can I define a function and use it like that? I guess so. Okay, clicked. That's good. So now the funny part. So the funny part of jQuery was when we wrote this increment function. Oh, has too many losses. And now I'm going to remove the needed ones. Okay. Okay, so remove all of those pluses, but keep this plus. Okay, it's not going to format it. What's happening? Cannot contain export. Okay, I'm not going to export. Page is not defined. Okay, why is it? Okay, this is very confusing. Mostly because it's like it can't format it. Okay, let me just grab the. Okay, have some local changes here. I don't know if they're important. Okay, so it can't be export. We can have it in a separate file, I guess. And no one called this function, it would seem. Like, why did it run? So, does it work in Vite? No, it doesn't work in Vite either. This is so confusing. Server impl? Who's calling server impl? Okay. Okay. So it clearly didn't work. I'm guessing it's just because it has .vue file name. So let's create new file that is going to be increment.ts, and let's just move that stuff there. Now we can export it. I guess not export this one, but this one. Yep. So don't want to have increment. Yeah, I'm sure it's what this means. Okay, so fail to dynamically import. Okay, not sure what that means. Okay, so let's do this. No warnings, almost. There are some warnings. New props URL was added. Oh, interesting. Okay, so in our SPA, we're not using URL because we don't have a router here. So it actually makes sense to remove it. Okay, what's happening again? Oh no, this one. So let's see. Yeah, so let's say that's that. So now we have increment and so no warnings, everything works. That's so now go back, click. Now can I import increment from increment? Okay, nothing exploded yet. Okay, something exploded. Failed to reload. It could be due to syntax error or importing an existing file. Okay, should be compiled away again. Oh, okay. So I can do this. I can do something like this. Should be compiled away. Why would you run it though? This seems so confusing. Fetch create function. Fetch create function. It is inside of TS file now. Okay, so this one I guess it crashes on the server. Should be compiled away. Interesting. Like, why are we even calling it? What's our stack trace? Okay, so increment 5, process, ticks, and reject. Okay, doesn't say much, but okay. So if I have like a 0 and fetch, right? It shouldn't be calling it. So this one is still crashing. Fetch create fetcher is not a function. Okay, so fetch is a thing from Bling server. Okay, is it from the Bling server though? Maybe I'm just like importing wrong thing. Okay, so this is a bit better. Now this one still crashes. This one works. Okay, I expect this one to work a bit longer. So now if my increment is fetch, okay, and if I click on it, I have this increment. Now let's call it. Yeah, it should be like button plus. Okay, so I can click on it. It will try to call server, and it would be 404 because we need to be proxying stuff, and proxy stuff is inside of my QGP GPT thing, and it's a config for Vite that is set like that. So if I go to config, and if I warehouse server port, I can add this. Now in Vite, if I do this, it will send that. It should send at least. Should send it to Astro now. Okay, so pink. Okay, it's 404, which is not great, but not entirely bad. So we see the request comes to Astro, but we are not routing it to the right place, which is fine until we fix this. Okay, so client, interesting. So now it's client. Good. If I go back and if I remove increment, go client, and if I remove from here, it works. Now if I go import it, it crashes. So the interesting question is like, can I delay this somehow? So can increment be a function that returns a fetch, right? So if increment is a function that returns a fetch, you don't need to run it yet. Now, on the other hand, during SSR, what even happens during SSR? if I do console log here, I see the function. Is that function will it register it though? Okay. Okay. So let's go back here to Vite and let's do, in case of increment, do this. Okay, so it still works. This one still doesn't work. And the issue is that it it was supposed to be replaced with compile step. Okay, why doesn't it? Now the question is like, why did it work in jQuery and doesn't work in Vue? Okay, so uh, we're going to call it a day. We're going to check just one more thing. So nope, that's the wrong one. We're going to do that's foreshadowing that we didn't do that one yet. So so we have this, we have this, we have this, which shows us that's the wrong one, right? Because it still has fetch. Should be something else. Uh, okay. So let's call it bling for view doesn't work. Okay. Now the silly thing that we're going to try is so right now I'm using my fork of bling just because the other one like doesn't work. But we can check if that changed since then. So it's tanstack bling. If we replace it and if we drop changes in yarn log in the wrong yarn, yeah, okay, 4.0 was the last one that I checked and it didn't work. So hey, we know that's not going to work. But just for completeness, let's restart it. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Crashes a bit differently. Does increment. So Vite works, Astro doesn't. Okay. Oh, actually, we see something different. Astro now kind of works. And if we go and change this fetch to be get, it might start working. Okay. Okay. So does it send the payload? Because we had some issues with that. Yes, it does. Okay. Does it send the response? Okay. So for this, we need to see result. Okay, result works. So now, so now it's super simple. We send our count dot value to the server. So the response is going to be different each time. We don't need that function anymore, hopefully. Yes, yes. Okay. JSON in position. Okay, that's a bit bad, but nothing that could kill us yet. Okay, so now instead of doing this, we're doing this. This res is out. Yep. Okay, I'm not sure I can't format. Oh yeah, we decided that Vue doesn't know how to do format. Okay, so we are doing counting on server. It's using get, and it's using get. It's they don't have like a nice UI for it, but hey, is this server components? uh, they're running on the servers. We're calling them from components, so it's not that far off. So we need to check if we can inline this function again. So uh, we're doing this, it crashes, and this one crashes. Yes. So we know that we can't do it in view files. Uh, uh, okay. So okay. So we're going to say works with bling and get, and we'll add a shrug emoji. Okay. So now I want to do a clip of demoing it so that I can like post it to Twitter later. Okay, so there we go. I need to install like a Waller or something to make it work probably. Formatting, I mean. But I'm not going to do that yet. So I want to do this. Wait a second. Okay. Literally, you know, wait a second. So let's restart. Okay. Great. Maybe there are some issues with HMR still, so it's fast now. If I make it slow, yeah, it's not slow. It requires a restart. Okay. We can live with that for demo. That's fine. Okay. So, uh, we're doing this one, and oops, where are you guys? Okay. Sure. Oh yeah, that's solid still. That's in the index HTML. Yeah. Okay. That's going to be this one. Okay. And we can add it there. Okay. So now demo time. Do I need this? Probably not. I need this, and I would need it to restart. Okay. Okay. Um, okay. Let's do a demo. Let's make sure that I'm in the frame. Uh, if anyone wants to say hi in the chat, and that's going to be that's going to be in the Twitter problem in the Twitter video. Okay, so oh yeah, I need this one. Okay, and this and this. Okay, and low. Okay, that's close enough. That's going to work. Uh, and low to Daniel. Okay. Okay, that's we did it just in an hour time frame, so I still have time to write my second framework. That's the other one. Like I have very little idea how I'm going to do this, and unfortunately, the npm package name that I wanted to use for it was taken, so that lowered my motivation for finishing it a lot. But anyway, uh, okay, so we are going to start here. So uh, yeah, everything should be running. Um, I'm trying to figure out the right way to intro this. Okay, so I also need to figure out how to do markers, but that's probably like full later time. Okay, so hi everyone. Even you on Twitter said, "Isn't that bling thing going to work for Vue?" And me and Daniel Rowe were like, "Yeah, we should try if it works." And I actually make made it work before for jQuery, and it seems like if it can work in jQuery, how hard is it going to make it work in Vue? Um, so I started with Vite um, template, but for it to work, you actually need server side because obviously, like your server, your server code will need to be running on the server on the backend. So for backend, I use Astro. So this is using my project called QGP, where I can run the same app in Astro and Vite, and they talk to the like Astro backend. So what what I mean when I say talk is that this counter is actually counting on the server. It's a silly demo, but you at least can see that it works. To to make sure that it runs on the server, I can make it slower. So server now responds slower. So you can see that if I even click it like 10 times, it's still waiting for the server. Um, this is done with this fetch function, which on a client, it just returns you like a promise generator, but this code will run on the server. So you can use your server APIs, you can do crypto, you can have secrets and all that stuff. All of it is not going to be sent to the client. So it's that's basically what like a main main thing of Bling is doing, and I made it work kind of. So the first kind of is that it uses get method, so you can send too much data and all that stuff. And the other kind of is that it has to be in a separate TypeScript file. If I put it inside a Vue file setup function, it just doesn't know how to do that yet. So like just Bling, like a plugin, needs to know how to parse Vue files before it could work. But I had a question about like, is that is that server components? Somewhat. The thing is that um, it's it's more about like mutation for your components. So server components don't have that yet, so we don't know exactly how that's going to work. And server components are at the moment like focused on kind of like partial hydration and initial load. So this is kind of like this is kind of like the different thing. It's more closely related to what TRPC is doing. In TRPC, you can declare your server functions in one file and use it kind of like transparently in the other, and that code will run on like SSR and and in client, but your server API that you wrote, it will only run on the server. So it's probably the closest thing to it. Okay. I talked for too long. Probably it's not going to API components. Okay. It's not probably going to fit into Tweet, but okay, who cares? So that was our first framework. I need to push it to Git. So it's gh repo create existing repo. This one, QGB vue bling, sure, GLRK. Yes. I need to come up with a better description probably, but that's good enough. Okay. Okay, that's not what I care. I care probably about this one. So, there's actually a command u or like open. No, u. Okay. Okay, this one. um, I need to write a short README probably. Okay, so it's going to be um, Bling demo with vue astro-vite UGB. And let's just add links to stuff. Bling. Oops. So Bling and speed it up. Okay. Do I want to put anything else? I guess I could put my my video. That's as good link as any. Okay. Okay. So okay. What else? I can try to deploy it, but I don't wanna. We are going to stop at that. So now let's go let's go try to do my other framework. Uh, so my other framework is not as I'm not as clear what I'm going to do there. uh, so Astro. Yeah, I was playing with Astro. We didn't need this one. We probably need this one. So what I was thinking is that I like to figure out what is the story with web components. That's kind of like where I'm at. I'm like, do I can I can I come up with a way uh, to use web components? Is it hopelessly lost, or is there a chance for us to use it? So okay, can I remove that group now? Okay. Um, so I try to like look into what web components do at the moment, and overall, I think the best web components are the best the way that I kind of like understand what is happening with web components is the way that Astro uses it. So this is like Astro um, uh, website, and they have like two web components there. So one is for rich text editor, and the other is for image gallery. So so what's the image gallery? Okay, so it's resources, themes, I guess, and let's open this one. So there is like a this just scroller through images, right? And it's like, hey, how do I do that? So you have if I have a server framework and I don't want to put any real framework, if that makes sense, in it. Do they have a real framework, by the way? They have some CSX files, but I guess they have this one. They have like a search file icon. Yeah, so those are like all icons. Timer, create timer. Okay, so what does create timer do? Got block. Okay, interesting. So they have code block, create effect. Interesting. So they're using solid just for runtime reactivity, not for um, not for the framework. Okay, so integrations, icons, pages. Okay, so they have this page, image uploader. Okay, so this hopefully is like the real. Okay, I'm not entirely sure how to check where they use it. Um, but basically they have like a real framework that does real stuff. It has like SSR and stuff, and I wonder if there is a way to I wonder if there is a way to author web components in a way that is like pretty close to real web components, but then it has like SSR story. So that's kind of like a thing that I want to try out. Um, the thing that uh, so the thing that I ever used in web components, I'm overstating it, but the thing that I deploy to production is this solid element stuff, and I'm trying to figure out if there is a way to use a bit less of solid, if that makes sense. But it still like works. Shadow DOM is SSR. Yeah, I I'm not going to touch like anything Shadow DOM related because I just kind of like don't understand what's happening with Shadow DOM, and that's what I was trying to say. Is like this thing that they have in Astro. It doesn't use Shadow DOM. It just in a sense, this is probably like the simplest one. I already kind of like made it more complicated while I was playing with it, but it's like, hey, I have this thing. Like, if you would rewrite this to jQuery, you will get almost the same code. It just, instead of like get element, you will use like IDs or something like that. So it's actually nice that it's already kind of like scoped, and it doesn't matter how many components of that type you have. It's like one or two. Instead of in jQuery, everything is usually written as like here is the ID of like the carousel that I'm adding. If it's a carousel plugin and I can have multiple carousels on the page, that's like 10 times more complicated to do than just having one. So this is for like a simple, how do I want to say it? This file that I'm looking at, it is written in a way that web components are used just as like kind of like a nice scoped jQuery. It doesn't use style like Shadow DOM. It doesn't use like a scoped styles. It doesn't use any of that stuff. It's like, yeah, when I'm looking for input, I want to find an input inside of this thing. And I kind of like understand that. When I look at this thing, I'm like, yes, I see what you're doing and I see how it works, and all of this makes sense. And now the question is like, can you write can you make a real framework out of it? And this is what I was playing with. So okay, how am I going to proceed here? Uh, and I guess that's kind of like part of the reason why I'm trying to stream it, because I feel like I need to talk it out. Otherwise, I'm not getting any progress. So the other thing that makes sense in terms of web components is WebC. There is lit, and lit is fine. It doesn't have like a kind of like backend story, so it doesn't even try to do that. Streamed Shadow DOM, yeah. So I'm curious to see how like streaming works for all of this stuff, but it requires too much server, and I want to skip kind of like through server part as fast as possible. But this WebC thing, it's the more that I look at it, it's like in terms of the scope, it's similar to like Alpine or like Petite V, where it can do like some interactivity. You can do like click. Okay, it doesn't show it. What does it show? The name it's like F. Where's the click one? Event, event. No, where's the event? Okay, am I giving it too much credit? I saw event stuff before. Okay, if HTML, yeah, WebComponents. Components. So will that work on SSR? You can also use setup to run pictures goods, similar to using has cost scope and will not fly back. Works with blah blah blah. Okay, so there is some template. There is some like assign. So it does a bit of like interactivity, and you can do stuff. Oh yeah, so it's like uh, so it will run JavaScript and it will like return the string. So I think the real solution in the space that I'm thinking on is going to look like that, but I don't want to go all the way there. And the thing that I don't like about this is that um, it's like another SFC format. There's .webc, kind of like file extension, all that stuff. I already want to be inside of kind of like JavaScript or HTML, so I don't want to invent more stuff. And because this thing doesn't actually like render anything, uh, it doesn't need to have like a server side thing. Um, and the other balance that I'm trying to figure out is that kind of like interactivity story is that so what is cool about like code pen or something? What is cool about bleed HTML is that oh, this one is actually is not even like rendering anything. uh, let me just lead HTML code pen. Yeah, so it's like I can just write everything into in JavaScript file. I can like import one package and everything works. And I actually use that for our like tests. So it's like, hey, if I have application that does this, like render this one, I can have like a show and hide button and stuff like that. So it's like this is this is kind of like the level that I'm thinking on. It's like something really simple, and Solid actually has HTML function. The problem with it is that it's like it's not completely great, and I'm not sure if that's like really good, just in terms of like TypeScript. So I want to play with all this stuff. I don't have like a clear goal as opposed to that Vue stuff where I knew where I'm going and like what I'm getting. But I think I just wanted to mention like one more thing is shoelace. Shoe. How's it spelled again? Shoe. Uh, Shoelace is like a web component framework, and I was like, hey, I should look into that. And then it's like, sure, let's see how it works with Next.js. First of all, like it doesn't work. It only works with like older version. And second of all is like, yeah, just make sure that it doesn't run on the server at all, and make sure that on the client before everything runs, this like thing runs. Otherwise, like nothing is going to work. And it's like, okay, uh, this is not at the level of like modern frameworks. If that makes sense, it's like we're not talking like streaming server. We're talking about like not crashing at the server is like their goal is like, can it just like not crash the server? And it's like sometimes, and it's like okay. So I was um, yeah, and then it's a question of like what to do with styles, what to do with other stuff. So I don't know yet. So I think when I look at solid element, it looks kind of like too simple and too complicated at the same time. And it feels like I want to write like two or three different kind of like web component frameworks. And I'm not sure what they are exactly. So like one of them is just like, yeah, just solid element, but a bit better. And it's a bit hard for me to figure out what is exactly wrong with solid element, why I want to make it better. But anyway, so let's start with something. I guess we can start with what kind of things I already have like uh, in terms of custom elements, and it's like a simple widget. So we have at Fog Banner we have like this kind of like vanilla JavaScript thing that you can use, but if you're doing, I don't know, like, oh, someone followed me, I will try to pronounce it. Xiaomian. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm trying to even like figure out what kind of like language that would be, because if it's like, does Chinese have it like that? It sounds a bit Chinese, but yeah. So thank you for follow, and if you if you don't mind explaining what your name means or like how do you pronounce it, that would be cool. So we have this plain JavaScript wrapper, and it's actually kind of like silly how hard you need to work to connect it to like to React or Vue or something. That's why we need like all the other wrappers. And it's like, why do you need to write no shadow dome there? It's like, can this be a default? Like, why do we need shadow dome? And I like that I like that props are reactive. Like I didn't. I need to do something to make them reactive. I think. Uh, yeah, I need to pass like an object that will have fields that are going to be reactive, because in custom elements or web components or however you want to call them, you need to basically like subscribe to each field separately during your like declaration of your component. So, and one API that I was thinking that I can do is okay. Now the problem is like I don't know where I started to write it. Is it this one? No, this one is empty. Okay, so maybe it's here then. This one. Okay. So let me get it out of here and let me put it here, because that's actually like for this file. Um, so the way that you do that um, uh, reactive thing is that you need to declare like observable attributes. And again, it's using class style, but I can probably live for a bit with that. So you need to declare like, hey, I have an M, I have a client URL, I have token. Thanks, Copilot. Um, so now, if I have this, I don't need to send this anymore, right? It's like I already have this. And the other thing is like I try to figure out how like or when shadow dom happens, and in the solid element, not solid element, in the component register hooks, like one of them, it doesn't have like a real name, so component register, yeah, and this one I think in component register I do uh, shadow, okay, no shadow dom. So now shadow dom does this render root, and this render root is doing this. Yeah. So it does this like this attach shadow, and in documentation they're just saying, hey, this is what you usually do in a constructor. Uh, yeah, and there is a bit confusing. Like there is a hook that is happening when there's one for constructor and there is one for like connected something. Uh, call inside of your constructor. Okay, so like, or don't call it, right? So that's that's where I'm leaning. It's just, yeah, just don't call it. It's interesting that they're like declaring it in line. Um, template. If your code is inside of HTML import, you need to change the blah blah. Okay, not sure exactly what's happening. So it's like if someone wants to do Shadow DOM, they are more than okay. Create element, append a template. Okay. Um, so this is the stuff that we do in a constructor, and I think the reason why we do this is because we how to say it, we need to store somewhere. uh, if we're talking about solid, okay, where is it again? If we're talking about solid, this like render root, we need to know this render root to like render new updates, and and lead also hides this from you, and it also has like a this separate thing of like how to do uh, how to do shadow dom, and it's like, yeah, render root. And I think we can just create this method as well, if that's where it's going to. We can probably do something like that. And I'm leaning of like doing kind of like a render function. Okay. So this is how we subscribe to stuff. This is like the name of the component that we're registering. We don't have to do that in our framework. It's just, yeah, people are free to do that themselves. It feels like. Um, does WebC do something like that? How does it know the register custom? How does it uh, how does it know where like the components are happening, right? So where's one where's one is defined, where's the other was one like consumed? I guess like import. Yeah, so import any tag name. I see. So this is just arbitrary name that you give it. That seems slightly odd. Uh, it will expand any component it finds using known components. You can also use import inline component definition. Okay, so there's some discovery that's happening. Can import directly from npm package. Element will do all of this stuff. Sure. Um, yeah, so I'm going to skip that part. So where do you have this demo, by the way? Okay, have this one, and this one. Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah. So I'm doing something here. So again, we're not doing anything with this. We are not doing anything with this. Now we're not doing anything about this. Now the question is, how do I connect? How do I connect stuff? And and this is where I need to figure out the life cycle kind of stuff. So I think if you go back here, I can do like unmount in remount, but I can also do so scenario one. I can also do where it maybe I don't have that example anymore. But I can also do like this. But depending on the show, I will show different token. Okay, so okay, this, and now this is scenario 1.1. Okay, so I go to this. Okay, doesn't do any tokens. What happened to the token? Okay, well, let's not do token then. Let's do client URL because it doesn't really matter. Oh, I see. It's like it's attribute instead of yeah. I don't care about that stuff. So yeah, so we see that. Okay, I missed the joke about Rust and Wasm. So if you can, if you can remind me what was happening. Um, okay, so we can change this thing, and now the question is like, do we get how do we react when it happens? So here the question is like attributes something observing changes in attributes. No attributes blah blah blah, and so we say which ones are observed, and then we need to write gather setter, I guess. I don't understand why we need to do this as attribute. Okay, this seems like a internal thing, and there is a question of like dot something. properties and attributes. Yeah. So get set. Okay, so when I go here and I have, when the value changes, I need to write a setter for it, I guess. So we're talking set token, and I lost all of my reflective value as an attribute. Oh, interesting. So if it is set as reflecting, almost every property does this. Okay, set remove toggle observing changes. Okay, so by defining attribute change callback. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Okay, so we get, this is so confusing. If it's already an attribute, it's disabled. Not disabled. Okay, so first thing is we are doing attribute reflection, but then we are doing actual observing of of the things. Okay, so let's start with that. Yeah, this is not fun API. I don't blame anyone who don't want to use this. And I guess does, yeah, so they do use it, and they call update function once it happens, and they only call it once, and then when the update when the attribute changes. Okay, so if the name isn't selected and the old value is not equals to the new value, yeah, that seems like a silly boilerplate. Okay, interesting. So what's happening here? Toggle drawer is not a function. Of course it isn't. Why you're even bringing this up? Okay, let me hide this. Shadow root is not defined. Okay, who said anything about shadow root? Oh yeah, I guess it was okay. So I'm changing stuff and nothing happens. And um, huh, it is actually changing here. Wow, this is much worse than I was thinking. Okay, so we have get and set. Okay, so if we do this, why is it red? Null. Why does it have to be assignable? Selected, declared, selected. Okay. Why is it a number? So confusing. Null is not assignable to a number. Okay, so string better. Is selected like a special value. HTML selected number. Not selected tag, but selected. Okay. Let's not go too deep into that. So Interesting. It's complaining again. String is not assignable to number. Why is it need? Why would it need to be assignable to a number? It's so confusing. Oh, because it's a getter and setter. It should be reading the same value. I understand now. Okay. So it's a string then. Okay. So what's going to happen now? Okay. This is pretty confusing. So we follow client URL. We did that not very interesting thing where okay, I guess this client URL. So client URL get it. Okay, it's not a function. Okay, it's 0. And it's just this, right? Yeah. Okay. So we do pass an attribute. Oh, it's client dash URL. Okay. Yeah, that's another confusing thing. Client dash URL. Okay. Okay, so our attributes change thing doesn't work at all. We do get initial value, but then it doesn't do anything. Okay, that's probably because of this. Does it have to be both of them? Yeah, I think web components are much more in a much more worse place than I was even thinking. Okay, so interesting. So it's name, alt value, and new value. Oh yeah, I see. So it's like empty or value or empty or value. Okay, so what do we do here? We just reflect to the changes. We don't actually change anything anymore. Okay. I don't have any web components friends. Uh, and I need to figure out if that's like for a good reason or for a bad reason. Yeah, so here there are like no type safety. It could be anything. Okay, so the other question is like if I don't do this, what is going to happen? It still happens, but I guess we no, this also works. Okay, this is so confusing. Like I have no idea what's even happening here. If I said it's like line URL 2, will that do anything? No. This is so confusing. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's every time that it changes, let's call connected callback, and let's see if that's going to reflect. Okay, it is reflecting something. uh, okay. Okay, so we need to do all of this. No, that still works. Maybe that's like a default implementation. What if I don't do anything? Still works. Yeah. I don't know what that means. What else? What else are we even trying to do? We trying to. Okay, so let's just hide it again. Yeah, it doesn't know how to do this anymore, but you can always do this. Yeah, it works perfectly. Except maybe for token, right? Because token is not an attribute; it's the property that we're getting. And now let's do this thing, but for token. So private get token. Sure. No token, I guess. And set value string. Okay. So now token is object. That's what we call progress. Oh yeah, and it's actually I changed two attributes at the same time, but like how many? Oh my god. This is a not cool system. This is not a cool system. Okay. Uh, let's call it progress. Let's say that we're getting along. Uh, because we're trying to set it here, it's like a CLA value. What we should be doing is we're doing like this token equals value, and then here we should be reading this token. I think that's what everyone is waiting for us to do. We need to be doing this token equals empty string, otherwise it crashes. Okay, it still crashes. Oh, well, yeah, it needs to be like something like this. So it needs to be this. Okay, so it's object. And if I go back here, if I do the same thing for token, so it's like show token or find. Okay, undefined because it turned it into a string. Hmm. That's a bit confusing. It's undefined as a string. Why wasn't it? Oh, is that because of the syntax? This is getting worse and worse. uh, okay, so it's empty string here. Okay, this is very bad. This is so much. This is so much worse than I was expecting. Okay, I mean, they're getting somewhere. Okay, so it's undefined. It's undefined as a value there, but we can't set it as an attribute because if it's if it's a value, we should be doing this. Otherwise, we should be removing it. Yeah. So okay, why is it undefined here then? I guess if we do this, it will be fine. Okay. Um, okay. Now it's null for some reason. Okay. Null is null when it's not set. Why it's not a Okay. Um, I should just quit while I'm ahead. Uh, okay. We we can do it. So let's see web components. Okay, so web components uh, reactive attributes. Okay, so attach shadow inner HTML connect callback blah blah blah. Okay, vanilla Vue.js. Okay, Vue.js, we're just using it in Vue.js. Okay, events, dispatch event. As it turns out, having the first step is trigger an event. Okay, so change what? Inner text. Okay, I'm not sure I follow what's happening. And I don't like that it uses layout effects. So we have a ref that is set for drop down, and when this drop down changes, we're getting value back. And the way that it changes is we are dispatching events. Okay, so we can set attributes, we can set properties, we can also send events. That seems like a perfect way of doing everything. Okay, taking control, sampling. Okay, I don't think this is what I was signing up for, but let's just quickly skim through it. So yeah, okay, I'm closing it. Reactive web components example. Okay, so I have a template, I have a thing, and then this thing has a reactive mixin. Okay, I'm filling it. Allow the value property to be set via attribute. This property becomes the value. Okay. This set state, interesting. This state. Okay, expose value as an attribute. Uh, that's that state. Okay. Render state to the DOM. Reactive mixin invokes this method when state changes. Virtual DOM, late HTML, etc. In this example, we'll just populate DOM with HTML template. Okay. This update DOM directly with DOM API calls. This actually isn't so bad, and the fastest possible way. I mean, why not? Okay, so it creates shadow root, which was created for us invisibly, which is not fun. Okay. Okay, that's so it's a package called Alex. And web components. Okay, so we're looking for something reactive, reactive mixin. Okay. So it uses internal. What is internal? Okay, it's a bunch of symbols. Was expecting something else. I was expecting set state. Okay, that's a symbol. Okay, that's that's a bit confusing, but hey, render changes. First render. Okay, I guess that's the interesting question. Uh, that's the interesting question. Okay, so anyway, I was going to look into this, like render changes. So we have this, like this is initial render. When the component is attached to a document, we'll generally render the component for the first time. Sure. So, and do this, then it needs render. Okay, that's a funny way of doing it. We only need to queue a render if we're in a document a render operation hasn't already been queued. Okay, so it has some way of like batching updates. If we're not in the document yet, so it's like is connected. Okay, so is connected is a cool thing that we might need. Components eventually add the document. They're gonna call to ensure the render at that point. Okay, so needs render and field render. Okay, so yield with a promise timing. Okay, so what is the function that we are in? It's a set state. Okay. This lets us now that the above promise has resolved, render the component. Okay, so we do render changes and we check that if it's it was only done once. Yeah, that was the question of like if I change token on URL at the same time, how do I make sure that's only rendered once? That's the interesting thing. Okay, so the other thing that we wanted to check is connected. Okay, all of them are disconnected. So element is connected. I guess it's just a property of the thing. Um, and so go back here. It's connected is false. Now it's true. Okay, so try to render it before it was connected. So interesting. So it set attributes first, then it called it. Okay, so now we're going to back to solid element, not solid element, but the other thing. Prevents premature releasing what element is the only temporary removed from the DOM. Oh my god. Okay, it could be temporarily removed from the DOM. Okay, that's fine. That's probably fine. I don't see any problems with that. Uh, so okay, so blah blah blah. Custom element type. What does it do? Yeah, just so we can talk to those properties, I guess. So props, lookup prop, render root, add release callback, add property change callback. Okay. So yeah, this is the thing that I'm trying to figure out, like how vanilla this this framework supposed to be. How much of that kind of like magic we want to introduce. Okay, so observed attributes are attributes. Okay, prop keys. Do you use prop keys for anything else, I wonder? So we also use it for lookup prop. Interesting. So we are finding key. What is prop definition? Yeah, prop definition. Okay. As a string or undefined. Okay. Add release callback. Add property change callback. Okay. Property change callbacks. Property change callbacks. Okay. So I push oh, I see. That's like a custom ones because I'm probably overriding the real ones. I don't see where we are calling them though. So let's try that. Okay, so it's here. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing. Okay. Initialize props. Okay, utils. Okay, so the function is initialize props. And when we have set what? We're defining property. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so we're setting new value. There's some kind of reflect, and then we will call the other ones. Okay. So what does reflect do? Okay. If it's null, remove it. Oh yeah, that's the yeah. Okay. Right. So this seems like it's this stupidest part about web components is the reflect part. But people do use it. People are somehow fine with it. Okay, so interesting. Okay. Hmm. One other thing is that Fireship IO, he uses Svelte for his web components, and it's more complete. So what does mark complete do? Is I mark complete. So this is a template. This is Hugo template, and he adds thing slot granted. I'm not sure what that does, but he then passes some values. And if you look here, so first was slot. I don't see any slots granted something. Mark can access source. Okay, so quiz and free. Okay, export stuff. Yeah. So those are props. So for those props, we generate stuff. Okay. So interesting. Okay. So when I was talking about like, I think I want to write two frameworks. So one framework. I guess like first, second. What's happening? Okay. So the first frameworks works kind of like that. So I have counter, which is I don't know, initial props, initial number, and sure, compile it. Let's do that. So create state, create signal. Okay, and set count +1. Okay, so this is the first framework, and first framework is kind of like that, right? So it's like just just create a custom component that is based on that thing. So I'm like create custom component like counter. I could be saying and like and the prop is initial. So that's one framework. So now the question is like counter in web components. Blah. Where's our counter? So define extends HTML element, create a button, pen child. Okay, so this one doesn't have props. Okay, so what's the conclusion? Slot. Yeah, I don't think we need slot. Okay, this one's probably like using later or something. Okay. Okay, this is this is unfortunately closer to how it actually works. So one is second one is export class my counter initial. I mean, I think it's not entirely clear what should happen. Yeah, it's clear what should happen. If you set a new value, then you should like reset. Then we do, yeah. So it has like a so count this, then it's static get count count. I think it's this count. I don't know why it's not seeing it. Private. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening there. Did you mean count? Am I using the wrong one? So this one's going to be like the infinite loop. Okay, let's do underscore count maybe. Okay. Static set count number. Count doesn't exist. Okay. It worked here, so what are you doing differently? I guess, I don't know. Structure, super, tight shadow dome. Button click. Okay, so okay, so now we do all of this stuff, and we need constructor, super. I think it's just this. Where's it? This in our HTML. Okay, so still not sure what's happening here, but okay. So so I think the I think the API that I'm looking for is just like render count into this and initial vector 2 arguments. Yeah, because it's like counter initial, something like that. render. So where do we get render from? Okay, so uh, render is code and element. So that looks like a code. Okay, maybe this. Uh, and then it's just I just render it like that, and once I have all of this, uh, it almost kind of works, except that like it needs to be like this column. Okay, it's working out. What's happening? Maybe it's not static. Maybe it's just yeah. I think only the other one is static. Yeah. Okay. Finally, I was going crazy. Okay. So I guess it's not count its initial, and we should be reflecting or whatnot. It should be this set attribute initial. Uh, okay, so now the question is like, okay, so when the when the props are changing or like events happening, how do I connect all of that to solid? And it's like, okay, somehow. Uh, but the other question is, how do I SSR it? And because the SSR question is an interesting one, I want to be able to. Hmm, so this is so far. This is really close to like how you write just a regular web components. And this is all about like, hey, I already have my component, kind of like in this style. I already have my component. How do I turn it into a web component? And this is about, hey, I'm already writing my native component. How do I use Solid for rendering? So that's kind of like the uh, lead HTML kind of just for templating. I just want to use Solid for templating. I don't care about anything else. I can do it myself. And I think the question is like, is there a framework? Do you really need a framework, or if you already have everything, why not do that? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so what does Web Components SSR look like without framework? Yeah, that's fixing shoelaces stuff. We know that's not really. Not really a thing that we care. Okay. Okay, what's that? Progressive enhancement. Use the platform. Web components. Okay. Okay. Enhance. Okay, enhance sounds familiar. Uh, enhance web components. Okay, is it enhanced depth? I remember seeing enhance, and I remember thinking, nope. uh, After looking a bit more into it, but I guess it's like similar to WebC then. So enhance is a HTML framework building light applications, sure. Pages, elements. Okay, I think we're looking for elements. Okay, so HTML state. Interesting, because you're passing HTML. It's kind of like dependency injection. You can replace it with like server or client implementation. Okay, I feel it. It sounds cool. Yeah, so this is more of like meta framework, like server side stuff. Okay, let's go back to pages, I guess. Single file components. Okay, so it's just HTML. So if I write components like that, define a function that will turn it into HTML. Okay. Uh, don't care about styles yet. Script any function, blah blah blah. Okay. HTML. Element expansion. Okay. After inspect this output. Okay. So yeah, this is confusing. So I'm creating my header. Oh yeah, there's another one. Astro X element. Yeah, yeah. I also wanted to and and can be considered stable as of 2, and the version is true 3. Okay. So how to use okay, so X element, Vue element. Okay, that's kind of like side effects, I guess. Click. Interesting. Okay. HTML counter web component. Okay, so I have a counter component which I define where. Okay, that's not clear. So it's a button that does some side effects. Counter output. Okay, that's cheeky. And again, that's like limited to one instance, so it's not that fun. Okay. Props. The type is client side just blah blah blah. Using fetch. No one really cares. I think they were writing this uh, here, where like here, but they just messed up. uh, yes, that's a bug report. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So it says div here, and that made sense. This makes sense, and the one on the top doesn't. So I have vars and those. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how that's even related to Astro. So far, the enhanced one makes a bit more sense until we saw this. So I have my header and some text, and it replaced my header with header, but it kept my header here. Okay, okay, yeah, I feel like that's the way to do this. So slots. If I pass a header as a slot header, that makes sense. State. Okay. So my function could have a state. And if I call it multiple times with a new state, that also makes sense. So, um, okay, so Enhance is a meta framework like Astro, and it's a runtime kind of like framework like React, and it's a like a components format, if that makes sense. And I think what I'm interested in is the like web component format. It's like it's just how do you turn how do you turn how do you author web components in a way that makes sense? And so far I kind of like this what I see. Okay, so attributes are a way to pass data. Web component spec uses attributes extensively as a way to know when to update the element. And they also use events and I forgot again. Attributes, props, and events. Um, okay, okay, okay. So naming attributes. Attributes are lowercase. We recommend following. However, also valid. Unfortunately, camel case is not recommended. Okay, for camel case, it doesn't fire, so image width, JS access, kebab, this underscore. Okay, that's, I don't even know what to say. Headlink booleans. Well, okay, so includes, okay, so attributes are part of the state. That's fascinating. Okay, store styling, routing. So attributes. Okay, so let's look at the GitHub now. I'm already over time and I haven't written my framework yet, so I'm a bit upset. Okay, so SSR. Okay, so we are creating enhance. Okay, so we're creating an HTML function that is going to replace this thing with some other stuff. An example of custom element template for use in server-side rendering. Okay, so have this rendering output. Okay, style h1. Okay, so style is here. Oh, it did. Because it's like a SFC, it probably like got rid of the styles from here. Okay, I like that it keeps the thing. Yeah, it's that's how I kind of like think about web components at the moment. So you can also use object that exposes render, blah blah blah. I don't know what's the difference. Enhance custom element factory. Okay, I guess the link is broken or something. Stores, node. Okay. Initial state element. Yeah, I'm not sure how, like, because everything is in strings, I'm not sure how like any of that is going to work with this TypeScript. But I guess not everyone worries about it. Script transform. Yeah. That's where they get styles out and stuff. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So do we have client side, I guess one? Starter project, plugin, and styles. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. That's docs, npm main repo, enhance. Okay. That's kind of like the opposite of mono repo. Okay, that's a plugin that does all of this stuff. Okay. This repo is not meant to be cloned unless you're finding an issue or adding functionality. Blah blah blah. Okay. They're trying to hide it because like people are trying to use enhance, I guess. So I'm looking for stuff like is connected, right? Or like attribute something something is connected. Okay. Let's go back to something like that. Okay, so wrong repo. Let's look at the whole org. Enhance element. Okay, that's milfro space element class to help count down web component boilerplate. Okay, I think that's what I'm thinking about. Cutting down. Yeah. Okay, they have actually like two layers. So this is the layer that turns like a render, like this object basically. This is what turns this object into a web component. But there is a compiler probably or not. Yeah, that turns like SFCs into this object. Uh, but makes sense that this is the layer that does this. So this is interesting. So they are not using their own. Okay. Okay, I'm confused. They are creating naked HTML element. I guess maybe they just like grabbed it from somewhere. And this is very funny. Like this is like React docs were written in Vue, so this is like enhanced docs are written in pure web components without their enhanced thing. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to enhance rig. Okay, what's enhance rig? Not document. That's great. That's just great. Um, okay, so we figured that this is probably the thing, and this is probably like the plugin turns it into this, and this is probably what I was going to look for. Okay, so when attributes change, we call process and process doesn't do that magical thing with promises. That's interesting because like if I change two attributes at the same time, it calls this render, creates a new div, and it morphs. Oh my god, I don't like this. uh, is enhance in uh, what is it? Framework benchmark web frameworks. Is it the right one? Yeah, results. Framework in. Okay, go. That's server one. Yes, this one. So in yeah, they probably didn't even try to apply there. Yeah, I'm it doesn't seem like it would work very well, but hey, what am I? What do I know, right? Morph. So morph is they have their own morph DOM. Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, that's like 7 years ago. Okay. Not sure why they needed to include it. Yeah. It also means that probably not really good in terms of bundle size. Okay. I'm not going to turn it into like, hey, please don't use enhance, but it's a every time I look at it, I'm getting a bit more disappointed. But I think that like the idea behind it is pretty solid. Hey yo, um, I kind of like this API. I think there's something about it. Okay, oops, I forgot to turn off my Telegram. So that's like analytics. That's that's everything else. Is Is it written in France? Okay. Let me drop for a second. Okay, I'm not sure what that was about. Uh, so we'll just quickly go to like third framework, right? So we could look at enhance. And this is a bit silly in terms of TypeScript. We could do something like reactive C, right, style. So uh, so it will add, it will allow us to do this. The silly point is about uh, the silly point is about state, because that's not how solid would work. This is not like in solid, that's not going to be like a render function. That's going to be setup function. And that's what's interesting. Yeah, interesting. The other thing I was thinking, okay, so let's write our calendar though. Then anyway, so it's going to be like that. So state is going to be like uh, initial. I mean, probably attributes. So it's others initial. Okay, I think I broke my syntax somewhere. No? Yeah, there. So we don't need this anymore. We're not going to use this. There is no store. Why would we need store though? Yeah, we don't need store. So now I don't like HTML functions because we are going to lose type safety. So if we use JSX, if you use JSX, we don't even actually need HTML tag. That's one way of looking at it. The other is like what we might for if you're trying to do it like a okay. How is it different from the first one? I think that's the biggest problem. There should be a way to get kind of like halfway there. I think like uh, like this one, right? So where we have some we have something. I actually like that it's mixing because I can do like different elements. It doesn't have. I think you can do like a button or something, and you'll use it. Yeah. Okay. Uh, I'm not entirely sure how, how we can close this. Uh, let's try to figure out what we can do. So this second one, let's try to do. Let's try to do 4, and we are doing uh, we are doing render mixin, and we can keep some of this stuff. Basically, like, what do we need? What do we want? And would be all of this. Uh, then what do we do in constructor? We don't have constructor here. We have render function here. And it's fun to have constructor because that's where you connect Shadow DOM. But let's just imagine that we have a setup function. And that's where we can render. And basically it doesn't have to be, yeah, so let's go back to late element, no, late HTML. Full name, use state. Oh, actually, you know what? It's live Vue.js. We're going to check live Vue.js. Does it have search? Render. So yeah, it has HTML function. And it's like it's only using it to turn it into string, right? And it has some context and it turns it into string. So it's probably possible. Okay, the problem is that this API is very imperative. It's like, hey, change this, change that. And if I'm doing this, I think if I had I forgot how they call it in SolidJS, stores, solid store, yeah, create store. So imagine if I have like this store, and then I can read from store count, yes, like this. So store, so count, is count a function or is it just a number? It does not exist on type. Yeah. Okay, not sure how that works. How do we get store values from store? So that's a signal. Solve. So this is set to dos. This is to dos. So I'm reading to dos. Oh, does it have to be array? I always forget how that works. Oh, so store has, yeah, it needs to be something like that. I don't know if you're allowed to do this syntax. uh, okay. Okay, let's go back to here. So it's like store the first one, is count, and the store second one, probably like that. Okay. So if I have a store, and if my render function just passes a store, or it doesn't actually have to pass a store, it could be just store count. So this thing will set up this component to be reactive for the count, and as long as I do everything, like, do I even need this thing? Okay, so that's an interesting question. So let's figure out where we have this thing. So I have, so this is going to be my x counter 2. Counter 2. I do this. Okay, so we are getting rid of render mixin at the moment. So now, so where connected callback was happening, we still need it. Okay, so what are errors? X counter doesn't exist. Oh no, it's already signed up. Okay, so failed to define. This constructor has already been used. Okay. Okay, so we have this. Now, if I do this, okay. Okay, so now back to index.html. If I in my initial equals to go to or 1. Okay. Okay, so initial is 1, initial is 2. Is that, do we see that in the counter? So that would be props initial. Yeah, HMR is not working. And 0 there. So the count is okay. So it's the value that we have here, but I think we are not, yeah, attribute change stuff. So where we have attribute change, oh, not sure what's happening here. Oh, it renders too much. Okay, So now if names equals initial, count equals new value, and all that stuff. Okay, so is that a framework? Is what I've just done, is that a framework? Uh, it almost feels like one. It's using rather, okay, we don't need setup anymore. Yeah, I still have some, yeah, some HMR issues, but um, we can pass things from component to the counter. Okay. So what this is missing for me is that layer that Enhance is doing for SSR. It's like, yes, we did all of that, but how do you turn it into SSR stuff now? And I wonder if that's where XElement comes in. So Astro XElement. Yeah, this is too much of a, yeah. It's going too deeply. Oh, that's a fuzzy bears thing. Now I understand why he's promoting it so much. I knew that it's like someone from Astro, but I didn't know that it's a fuzzy bears project. Okay. Uh, anyway, so now I have this thing, but like, how do I turn, now that I have this X counter, what is going to happen if I run this in SSR? So we're going to kill this one. We're going to start this one, and that's going to be it for today. I already going for too long. Uh, uh, okay, so maybe I should do it in my QGP stuff. I mean, this should also work. So it's not okay. So this one. And was something submit something. Yeah. Okay, so themes, submit the theme. Yeah. So this is where I was playing with it. So we have this, and now uh, now that you're here, it's like, hey, I wanna I want to run a server-side script, right? And it's like class x extends HTML element. HTML is not defined. Is that how it is? Right? HTML. So, okay. So it is defined on the server? Interesting. So if I have all of this stuff now, and if I so I can do counter, which is fine. It could be just I plus count. That's allowed. So the render is going to be um, render is going to be, no, not bleed out. Solid.js web. So import render from solid.js web. Oh, they have after sorting of imports. I need to figure out how to set it up in my Astro project. Okay, so and create store is from import create store from solid. Is it solid store? Okay, close enough. So we have all of that stuff, and now can I do new this thing? I can. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So can I do, okay, right, so can I call this, I mean, is there a function like that? Yes. Can I call it undefined? I mean, to just okay. High one. So it's not set in I2. Okay. So this is kind of like my thinking is, what if I have attribute, what if I have custom elements that are defined like that, which is very okay. I have this render thing. So render is working on element, but I can also do uh, the render is working on element, but I can also do render to string or something else. And if I have this, and if I have something like SSR function that returns like render to string, so it doesn't use this anymore, it just maybe it even like returns this. So I can here just use this SSR. Right. So now here I can do SSR. Did it return anything? Yeah, it's a function that returns a function. If I call it again, returns high. Yeah, so it calls that thing, but presumably it will like compile JSX and stuff. So interesting. So I was writing my component exactly the same way that I would write it. I can build this, right? So I will. This is the way that I would write it anyway. This has to be stored, I guess. I don't know what's the ergonomics of like of exposing it like that, because you need to do like this thing. But this is how you write web components. And if you have a layer that can turn this web component into a string by using solid, for example, or something else, uh, how hard it is to build like enhanced level framework or like XElement level framework on top of this. um, doesn't sound too hard. This is what Astro does. Check some attributes, probably serializes some stuff, and then XElement. Interesting. I was expecting more. uh, is that really it? So it's proxy or XElement Astro. Pass through any existing properties, blah blah blah. But what's the runtime? Okay, now we need to figure out this one. uh, Compiling XElement TS. Source code. Does it have a like a website or something? Demo. XElement demo. Yeah, I'm sure it's by fuzzy better. Possible that it's a bit abandoned now, but I'm a bit confused. Is it really all implemented during the build? Because this one doesn't do anything. This one does a lot of things. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to figure it out. Quick does parameter over wire. The whole component might be a lot. Realize yes, but only that it is. That's entirely sure what you just said. Sorry, I'm a bit like too tired from streaming for so long. But anyway, so what I was saying, like this thing, you're writing it as kind of like you would write it anyway. You have to put your markup into like a separate function so that we can call it later. But if you write a if you write a parser that can go through, presumably like here in Astro, you just write like my counter, right? And we need to find how to replace that counter during SSR with like a uh, so presumably for every like my counter, we find it in the markup, and that's probably where you would do something like. So how XElement does it is you're just importing stuff. You're writing it as an XElement. Yeah, because you don't want this to write this, but like I want to write this. So uh, presumably I just have like an Astro. Oh yeah, I didn't say the name though. It's a such a tease, like a almost 4 hour stream, and I haven't said the name. uh, shouldn't call it the name then. Okay, I'm going to call it X, just so you don't know what it is. But anyway, so I can do something like this. Probably not. I'm not sure. So I for sure can do something like this. So like X, uh, yeah, something like that. And then X is just kind of like Astro integration with this thing. It will go find the string, and it will turn it into like my counter is like a h1 counter, and it's like a button, and so on. So it will send it like that, and then when we hydrate it on the client, we just run our render function, and it will like hydrate it to the same style. So it seems like it's possible. So we kind of almost figured out this part. Yeah, so I think like why, and the why is pretty simple. Is because if I don't care about SSR, I just write this part, and I just register my elements and all that stuff, and it works. And then if I care about SSR, I can add it like that, and it should also work. Then I can write all of my code in solid, or like whatever the framework that I'm going to use, as long as it returns like the same strings, right? And I only use web components to connect stuff to the outside world. So presumably, like shoelace, right? If they use where's shoelace? I don't know how to spell shoe. Apparently, uh, where is it? Yeah, but where they actually write it? So components, alert, alert. Okay, so they are using lid, uh, but how much does the lid actually bring them? It adds like reactive properties. Watch duration. like most of it is there, right? Most of it is just a template, and that part is going to work. So if I write this, uh, if I write this layer of like how to SSR a web component, I'm still confused why HTML element is defined on the server. Is that really a thing? If I call node, HTML is not defined. Where did it get it though? I'm so confused. X cannot be. Oh, yeah. Need to remove all of that stuff. Yeah, class HTML element. That's really confusing. Do they do something to get it working on this on Astro? Am I going crazy, or is everyone crazy? This is server. This is Astro server code, and I'm just running Node. Why is it? Why is it defined there? Okay, this is going to be the last thing that we're going to look into. I promise. Node. Yeah, this is TypeScript. This is ES linked. Okay. Um, is defined in Node. Okay. I don't understand the answer. Should we ask Bing? I just installed Edge, so so now I can ask Bing somehow slash something, or how do you use it? Ask me anything. Is that default search in Bing now? Yeah, I have no idea how to get into it. Is it defined in Dino? Not defined. How does it work in Shwe then? But I guess I can just like polyfill it or something. According to HTML is defined inside the same file. Yeah, it's all the same crap that I saw. Okay. Anyway, uh, you have ChatGPT Plus. I also have it, and I actually just unsubscribed from it. I think it's kind of like if they were bundling kind of like ChatGPT on Copilot. I think that's where I would be happy, but I don't think it costs it worth $20. You can just sign up and like use API. I have this GPT thing. Uh, I can ask the same question and get the same bad answer for it. So anyway, uh, where were we? So shoelace. Shoelace already has all of those components as HTML elements. And if there was like a thin layer of like, hey, this is this is what you do on SSR. I think that like the harder question for SSR is like, how do you resolve if this component is using like the other component. So you need to figure out some kind of like way to define them, and that's what like WebC does, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, so this was very confusing. Um, I don't know if it got anywhere. I don't know if web components are worth it. Uh, I don't know if I will play with it. Basically, like I have those kind of like web components that are written in solid element, and I wonder if I can write just like a simpler solid element that uh, that does mostly the same, but it's the question of like, okay, so what is going to be simpler about it? And I think I didn't like this thing, and I don't like this thing. So it could be possible that I just fork solid element and just fix those two things, and I will call it a day. But not for today. Thanks everyone who was hanging out, and yeah. Uh, I will have like a secret word, uh, just because people who are like watched until the end. I want to see if someone like in comments will leave like a. Uh, so the way to do this is to generate a random um, animal emoji. I already figured out how I'm going to do this. So, and I will eventually probably like write my own. Okay, monkey. So if everyone, if anyone watched until the end, just add a monkey emoji in your comments. That's going to be our secret word. Yeah, thank you.